So Kate and I talk on the phone every single day, it feels like. And we get on the phone and it's an hour and a half. And we both realize we have lives and jobs and cannot be doing this yapping unless it's monetized because it's 2026 and capitalism rules everyone. And so we were like, what if instead of just talking on the phone, we recorded ourselves talking on the phone, but video recorded? And Kate was like, actually, that's a good idea. And I was like, actually, you're right. And so welcome to the Actually podcast.
With Kate and Emily, or Emily and Kate.
Yeah, because you can't know. And Emily is quite a mouthful. So Emily always gets to be first.
Yeah, well, and she's older and more type A, so I'll let her be first in the byline there.
And I'm the brunette.
And of course, Emily has a whole plan and like a whole thing. And I'm like, let's just wing it and see what happens. We are going to try to start to follow a bit of a plan. So there's a bit of consistency. But yeah, I think of this more as like mic'd up yap sessions and less like your podcast that's released every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and blah, blah, blah. Although we'll try to be consistent.
We're not going to be consistent. We've got like the type B queen in charge of posting schedule.
Yeah, I have the keys to the Riverside link. So you know what, though? It's like, I kind of like it like this because if something big goes down, we can just hop on and do it and release a podcast. And it's just like, when there's stuff to say, we'll yap at you.
You know what? So people do not need another news podcast. There are professionals doing it now. I mean, Godspeed. Finally, the news organizations are in social media. And like, let's leave it to the professionals. You know what the professionals can't do? Yap.
They really can't. Certainly not for more than like 6 minutes after the talking points run out. It's like, what do they do?
Snooze.
So let's start off with something controversial. I want to get your thoughts on.
Oh, okay.
Have you watched, speaking of news and new media and podcasts, did you watch Hunter Biden on Candace's podcast?
You know, I have seen clips as one does. One doesn't ever see the full thing anymore. One sees clips from Candace herself and Clippers. And I have to say, like, I think it's good. You know what I mean? Maybe not good in the world in which like this is laundering Candace's reputation, but in as much as Hunter Biden has been grossly maligned, who has a lot to say about addiction issues, which is a really important issue in America. It's been really interesting to watch the clips I've seen where, you know, Candace has addiction issues in her family and they're both Catholic. And they talk about those things. And Candace apologizes to him and she exhibits remorse and is shocked to learn that she was saying untrue things and all this shit that seems sort of obvious. But I think especially for her audience, who are people who have believed everything she said, it's good for them to hear that. Now, of course, again, like the other topic is like, why is Candace doing this? And that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's fine too, because I think Hunter Biden is not really politically relevant moving forward, you know, and especially with Joe being done, I think it's like fine that he's out there telling his side of the story. He's obviously different from his dad. And yeah, I thought the clip of her apologizing was really interesting. She kind of went on and on and on and clearly does feel some remorse. I think it also just shows how it's much harder to like, there's that cheesy saying, it's hard to hate up close, but it really is. When you're like sitting down talking to somebody, you see them as a person, as opposed to like all of these parasocial relationships we have and talking about people on the internet, seeing the worst parts of them through the clips and then hating them. I think it's interesting. I don't know where she's going with her brand or what she's doing. She clearly has broken from Trump. And I think it's important to like see people with big platforms who clearly like don't need the money to like essentially not feel tied to be aligned with either side. I know I hesitate to say that because I know I'm sure underneath it all there's still a strategy there and I'm still like, what is her long game? But like she clearly doesn't need to feel like she needs to prop up the Trump administration anymore.
So I want to say two things. One, I think Hunter Biden did make some really good political points. And one of them was, you know, he took $1 million from an energy company over 3 years. And Don Jr., on the other hand, got a $60 million grant or whatever from the Department of Defense to do an energy project where he's had no experience ever in the industry. Like the grift accusations against Hunter pale infinitesimally to what should be lauded against MAGA and Trump. And so I think that was a good political point he made. And he's not like Hunter Biden is a Biden through and through. You know what I mean? And so I think he's always a political actor. But the other thing is, like, I think it's pretty clear what Candace is doing politically. And that is, without Trump himself as the figurehead, MAGA doesn't have a definite future. And there's a group of people who are trying to figure out how they are going to get to the top. And people like Candace, who is closely aligned with Thomas Massie, has been for many, many years, think there's this third rail option where you can maintain your credibility as a far-right actor while also saying you're against extremism, right? Like, you're not right or left. You're this middle. You're this pinnacle of truth. And we're seeing people come at it from a lot of different angles. That's also my argument for what I think Ivanka is doing. And Candace wants to be president. And assuming anything less of that woman is misogyny. And she's exceptionally talented. She's also nutter butters. However, she has long said that she wants to be the VP to Thomas Massie. And I believe her.
So you think he's going to run for president?
I think he wants to. I mean, a lot of people want to run for president. Wanting to run for president and actually running for president are two different things, right? And it's actually sort of important to talk about people who you don't want to run for president and why it's a bad idea to help move that needle. But it is all going to depend on the opening and what they can do, what they can raise. People put out these ideas into the universe. I mean, I think a lot about when Matthew McConaughey started putting out there that he was going to run for president. And like, he hired people to invest. Like, it was a real thing. And then he realized that it was actually going to be quite hard and he didn't have to do it. He could just do Lincoln commercials.
Yeah, quite hard and quite taxing on not just yourself, but like your family. It's dangerous. Obviously, I'm assuming, like, oh, what do we have here? You have Candace's book?
I have Candace's book and I keep meaning to read it. And like, maybe we should do a podcast episode about it. Candace wrote a book called Make Him a Sandwich and Why Women Don't Need Fake Feminism. It's a mock of a Gloria Steinem photo. And then the quotes on the back are, I honestly feel sorry for you, Cardi B. Candace Owens is a fraud, Lance Bass. The most disgusting, hateful, cancerous human being I've ever come across, Ireland Baldwin. Candace and I do not fuck with each other, Jojo Siwa. Anyhow, you know what I mean? Like, she courts controversy in this really, really tactile way that is very successful. And she knows how to capture the attention economy. I'm on like her email chain and she isn't doing what other people are doing. And it was really interesting to note in this Hunter Biden interview, she was like, well, I don't really do politics anymore, which is such
oh my gosh
bullshit. But I think it's so strategically interesting.
Yeah, it is because, well, yeah, she is latching on to the exhausted majority, all the people who are sick of politicians on both sides and saying, see, I'm not like them. I'm not like them. At a very convenient time when she has been at the center of the universe. I mean, she started at like Daily Wire and Turning Point.
She was discovered by Charlie Kirk, right? Like, they came up as a pair. There's a great book called Raising Them Right by Kyle Spencer, I think, and it really chronicles how involved Candace Owens was in the beginning of Turning Point. But Candace Owens, we talk a lot about the new right's cult of domesticity and their efforts to capture women, especially heading into 2028. And Candace Owens knows this. And like, if you read the jacket, here's the elevator pitch of her newest book.
Let's hear it.
What if everything you've been told about modern feminism is a lie? What if the slogans, hashtags, and rallying cries weren't about empowering women at all, but about trapping them in confusion and resentment? That's the right's pitch to women. And Candace Owens has been monetizing that now for a couple years.
Meanwhile, she is like the painting of feminism, building this like huge career. And I did see one clip where Hunter's like, I'd say this is a good thing. You have a lot of power. And he's right about that. She does have a lot of power.
She has a lot of power. She's a lot of power. I mean, she has 4 children. She's able to manage all of that while having a very active full-time career. She takes maternity leaves. She has to have help. Her husband has a full-time job by all accounts. He's I think the head of Parlor or something. You know what I mean? Like, she is living feminism.
Yeah. And this is all these women like Alex Clark and Isabel Brown and all these women who talk about like, don't go get a career, settle down first, have your babies. And like, they talk about this feminist dream and the trad wife stuff, yet they're all out here with the C-suite making a huge living for themselves and in meetings and calls constantly.
And it's so fascinating because Isabel Brown in particular tries to talk about it. And she tries to actively say, I'm not saying you have to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm just saying motherhood is the most important thing you do, which I think is a very, very clever framing. And they are very much, the new right cult of domesticity is very much trying to argue, have your cake and eat it too, because they see this as an attack against them. But they don't, what's good for me isn't good for you, right?
Yeah, I've noticed her kind of softening her tone a little bit on some of this stuff recently and kind of
Isabel?
trying to play both sides, which obviously also is another strategy. They're like seeing the writing on the wall.
Wait, I have to text you something.
I look like Snooki. Why do I look so fake tan? I mean, I did do some more fake tan this morning, but I don't think it looks this tan in real life. Okay. Culture Apothecary, Alex Clark's brand.
So they put up this carousel of all these different things, and this is just one of the statements that was made in the carousel.
Just because Alex says she won't vaccinate her kids doesn't mean we hate you if you've vaccinated yours. Okay. Once again, the bar is on the ground.
But I also think they know that they are moving into intolerant purist territory, and they are trying to exist as a gateway and an entry point for people. And right what you were saying earlier, right? They want people to think that they are tolerant of people who are not like them, and we're just asking questions, we're just giving information. I also continue to love that Alex Clark does not have kids. She is unmarried.
Yeah. And like the one thing that is not shade on anybody that doesn't have kids, it's just fact. It's like you do think everybody thinks they're going to be the perfect parent before they have kids. And then you have kids and you realize that like all roads lead to kids eating 7-day-old Cheetos off the car floor. It's like you have to give up some things.
But it's also like, it's easy to say I won't vaccinate my kids, and then suddenly I start hearing about measles cases in the next town. Well, when it's an actual real life human being, you might change your fucking tune,
Yeah, absolutely. And so many things change when you have kids and you're talking to your doctor, and if you have a pediatrician you trust, and which hopefully everybody does.
Most certainly, we can guarantee that Alex Clark will not go to she will actively choose a pediatrician that is the type that is against vaccines, right? Like people like, she is constantly recommending quote unquote functional medicine doctors who are pay out of pocket. They, like a lot of conservative influencers, she recommends, those Christian health insurance programs that are not good, that won't help you if you, God forbid, get cancer. You know what I mean? Magically,
I didn't realize there were Christian health insurance programs. How is that structured?
Yeah. Well, they're like catastrophic health insurance grouping. So they're not traditional health insurance. And they are very hard to use. And what you hear from people over and over again is when you really need them, that's when they aren't there. And that's how they survive and are low cost, because they don't pay out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But a lot of influencers on the right are shilling them.
Are you? I haven't seen anything. I'm going to have to be on the lookout. I haven't seen anything about that. But they're obviously digging into, costs are the number one issue for almost everybody, not almost everybody, but the majority of people in this country, with health insurance being the main pain point of those costs. And Democrats haven't really figured it out either, nobody's really figured it out.
So they're called, I'm Googling it right now. They're, instead of being health insurance, they're healthcare sharing ministries.
Oh my God. I just threw up a little.
Rather than traditional insurance, members of the same faith pool their resources to cover each other's medical bills. They're significantly more affordable than traditional insurance, but are exempt from ACA regulations and do not guarantee payment for all medical expenses.
Okay. So, that right there tells me, does not guarantee payment for all medical expenses. It's I'm out.
Right. Not as if the regulated health insurance covers all of our necessary medical expenses. I get a new medical bill that I have to appeal. It feels like every fucking day. That's not real, but it feels constant. And
yeah.
And I have fancy health insurance.
Mm-hmm. I did see Isabel Brown talking a lot more about it after she had her baby. She's like, you would not believe all the bills I got and all this stuff. Or maybe it was Riley Gaines, or maybe they were talking about it together.
No. There was a coordinated campaign about that. Both Riley and Isabel talked about it.
Well, yeah,
right around the same week.
Ladies, welcome. When you are pregnant and have a baby, you get about 40 bills. It's a nightmare. A nightmare.
If we want to incentivize children in this country, it should be mandatory full coverage, free, including prenatal care.
Yeah.
And postnatal care. But what are we? Just
Well, we don't
radical
really care
women.
about taking care of women. We just want them to pop out more babies. But,
Right.
I bet the one thing that healthcare ministry co-op has going for it that public options do not is I bet it includes thoughts and prayers, which, that's worth something.
It's funny you bring that up because I will say there are times when I have been really sick and I've been like, you know what? I actually do want some thoughts and prayers, but I feel like I can't ask.
You could. People would definitely think
Send one up.
of you.
Send one up to the goddess for me, you guys. Like, put it out in the energy sphere, whatever, call the coven, whatever it is.
Yeah, there is a time and a place for thoughts and prayers for sure, I think. We're not totally against them, okay?
We're not, which is sort of like, in general, the vibes of us, which is like, we're always in the middle somewhere on things.
Yeah, it's just
let's
like,
be
I don't
reasonable.
want to do it. But like, I tell my mom when like she goes to church, I'm like, pray for me. And I mean it. Like, I could use some prayers. I'm not going to be in the pew asking for them myself, but
I always feel like I'm Jewish, but if I have friends that are like Christian, they're like, pray for me. They say they'll pray for me. I'm like, great. Like, I would love to have my bases covered.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good vibes, good energy coming from
Send
anywhere.
it up all around.
Whatever your religion or belief is, send them over.
One of my
Okay.
friends' boyfriends who I have been forcibly placed on a group text chain with, I love.
No.
No, I have to talk to men. And he was telling me this week that he's an agnostic atheist and this is a thing. And I was like, that seems not possible, but I respect you. And you know what? Go for it, buddy. Do your thing.
Did he just feel the need to talk about this? Or
We were discussing what Haggadah we use for Passover for next year for planning.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good for him. And good for you for being in a group chat with boys.
I know. It's hardship for me.
They don't get the jokes as much, but that's okay. We'll let them live in some of our spaces.
Sometimes we have to invite them to our table.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. We love the men. They squish the watermelons. They take out the trash.
They do blue jobs. We should do a whole episode on blue jobs, pink jobs.
We should.
Yes. Gender essentialism has its place.
Although I'm like I'm not one who could be talking about that much because I really don't do crap around here.
You're like, I do neither pink nor blue. And
I'm like in charge of very few things. And even I screwed up the summer camp thing this last week.
It's not true. That is not true at all. You take care of your children.
I do. Yes. I mean,
yes. You do the grocery shopping.
Yep. Which is a big one.
It's a lot of taxing. Say I do a lot of construction and a lot of traditional blue jobs, but nonetheless self-identify as a hardcore pink due to my cultural designations as I love cooking and needlepoint and
and basket weaving. I saw this morning you're working on making your own baskets now.
I am. And I'm doing the basket weaving, and then I'm going to make it a basket to hold my needlepoint supplies, and I'm going to have a needle-pointed cover to the basket. It's a whole vision.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and then I'm going to wear it with a cute, fluffy floral print dress and frolic in a field.
You just love a hobby.
I love hobbies. And you know what? This is a problem with being a career gal for me and why the trad wife content really works on me is because I'm like, fuck yeah, I want a hobby. I love to craft. I love a little activity. I put on my audiobook and a candle and the flowers. And I feel #blessed when I'm doing it.
Well, you say that because you're like the trad wife content works on me. I think all the right-wing content, like the anti-vax stuff almost worked on me when I was pregnant my first time. Like I was thinking about a delayed schedule. All of their stuff works pretty well. Like it's not hard to fall down these rabbit holes because it's culturally relevant and seems normal and the hobbies are fun and it's beautiful. And meanwhile, Democrats are like, yeah, voted to cut Medicaid and SNAP and we are all gonna die.
Yeah. The world is on fire. Climate change is happening. You have to support these very arcane policies. And also, if you don't support this exact policy, you're a terrible fucking human being.
I know. It sucks because they're right. They're right about all these things. And they're all all the Democrats who are actually have made it to the high level and or are shaping policy and stuff. We're all the nerds from high school who were super smart and knew what they were going to do. And so they are so well-meaning. But it's guys, did you ever go to a party where you did a keg stand in a cornfield? Could you be a tiny bit more relatable? I feel like it's getting better. We're getting some more cooler kids representing the left. in different various offices and positions. But yeah.
Yeah. I have a very controversial take on the fuckability threshold and like that we just.
On the what?
And look, it's the fuckability threshold.
What's your take?
Oh my God, Kate, have I never told you this before?
No, I thought I misheard you. I'm like, did she just say fuckability?
Sorry, I'm piercing my Care Bear aesthetic. People on the internet are sometimes like shocked to learn that like I'm not a Care Bear. And I'm like,
Oh my
you guys,
gosh.
literally my main source of income is sexy brassieres. What do you fucking think?
Yeah. Yeah, you wear a necklace that says CUNT. Is this too controversial for the first episode?
I just want all the listeners to know that Easter eggs are being laid that will pay off in the long run in this podcast. And
She is Taylor Swift.
And you will love when you find out what they are at the end. And I'm holding my tongue. So my fuckability threshold is like, and look, I don't think that Republicans are excelling at this in a lot of ways, but there's a degree to which, like, it's another way to say big dick energy, but it's a gender neutral form of big dick energy, which is like Gavin Newsom, God bless. You know what I mean? It's not just that he's handsome, it's that he's got charisma and confidence. That man is fuckable. Not my type, personally, but like, I get it. You want to consume him. And it's this level of confidence and charisma. And we need more fuckable people in the party. That is also what translates online in a lot of ways. It's why I love John Ossoff. He also has good politics. But like, there are a lot of people with pretty decent politics in the party. And like, the reality is policies aren't the problem for us. Like, I know that the online, especially the online left, like really, really thinks that most people care about like very specific policy agendas. But when you talk to the vast majority of voters, it's more sort of like big bucket ideas that matter to them and a feeling of confidence and hope. And a belief that the party cares about them and is going to fight for them. Messengers matter. And we have to sort of understand how to make messengers that work.
Yeah, messengers do matter. And I think the very online left, which we are both, I think, a part of and we witness every day, and probably anybody listening to this is also sort of a part of, likes to...
Am I a part of it?
Well, I mean, we're a part of it in the sense that, like, we're privy to it. We see it every day.
Yeah.
I try not to get like sucked into like blue MAGA land, obviously. The online left these days is really eating each other alive with all of these primaries all over the place. Like, I've been watching the stuff in California from afar. I don't really know what's going to happen, but it's obviously we've seen stuff in Texas. Our Wisconsin race is kind of heating up. And, I know people feel allegiance to these candidates they're supporting, but like, and do that. Like, but let's not like.
Do you want to talk about the DNC autopsy? Talking about the online left and sort of total inside baseball?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
You're like, anyone listening?
No, let's talk about. We've only like texted briefly about it. We haven't actually chatted about it, so I'm anxious to hear your thoughts because I saw you were kind of spicy.
I was feisty and like very much triggered, and I'm going to be willing to acknowledge that like the reasons I was triggered are personal. And people are like, "Why do you? No one else cares about this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Like, it's not as if I don't have a job. Like, I'm triggered in my employ. Sorry." And that is because, okay, so what happened is when Ken Martin is the head of the DNC, he was elected chair after 2024 election, largely on a slate of taking care of the state affiliates, which to a significant degree, like the DNC does two things: raises money and funnels it down to state affiliates, and manages the presidential primary process. Like, that's what the DNC's main charges are.
Okay, good note for everybody to like really take in.
And he came as a head of a state, like has a lot of support from within the party, other state party chairs. Ben Winkler was the opposing candidate. Wisconsin.
You guys, she always says Winkler. She always adds an N. It's Wickler, but Emily always says Winkler. So we're just going to call him that forever. Okay, go on. Carry on. It's okay. I actually love it because I very much respect Ben, but I've met him like 5 times and he's never remembered meeting me. So let's keep calling him Winkler. Hey, Charlie, I'm doing a podcast, buddy. Yeah, go out in the kitchen and get a popsicle. Just, okay. Okay, so carry on about Ken versus Ben.
So Ken, but one of the things he promised to do was an autopsy of what went wrong in 2024. And so everyone was like, great, yeah. But apparently then what he does is he gets one of his friends, who's a consultant, to do this autopsy, and for free. as like a volunteer gig. And the guy does a terrible fucking job. And the guy also has another consulting contract with the DNC, which I think is like an interesting component of this story. Because you wonder, like, what does it mean to be free if you're already on the payroll? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's more that it was added to his contract.
Yeah.
And I also feel a lot like, and this is what has really triggered me is like, in Democratic politics, in politics in general, but in Democratic politics in particular, we have a massive problem with people hiring their friends as consultants and putting them on fat contracts and then doing no oversight. People do shitty jobs and they're never punished and they just get more consulting contracts because they're still friends with those people and they're all helping each other and giving each other contracts. And it really, really grinds my gears. And that is why I've been so upset about everything. Okay. So like, I'm willing to admit my own personal vendetta here. And like, I'm mad because I don't get those consulting contracts, but I'm also mad because they do shitty work. And it's like the same people and they are not moving the party forward. And so like I've seen so many comms reports that like don't include creators and influencers and any of that, which I will say this one doesn't do. Not a single mention of podcasts in a report about what went wrong in 2024. I want to fucking kill myself. What is wrong with you? Also, no mention of Gaza. Two mentions of women to say that a North Carolina race proved that you can target women and still win men. So like, oh, great. Women are people? That's that conclusion? Anyhow, it's like a terrible, terrible fucking job. And conceivably, there was no oversight of the process like while it was happening. And then when he turned in this absolute shit work with no citations, no backup evidence, nothing in late 2025, Ken Martin was like, we're just going to bury it. We're going to hope no one notices and like go on our merry way. And it turned out people cared. Largely because the online left was like, you're burying it because it says Gaza is the answer, which is not what happened. But I think like Ken Martin fundamentally doesn't understand the attention economy and the way the online left works and the degree to which he is responsible for the Democratic brand. And though that's not how he views the DNC's role, it is in fact the DNC's role. And he is doing things that Jamie Harrison didn't do on new media, right? Like there is an influencer coordination program now at the DNC. Like they are putting on more content on socials. It's the barest of minimums. We're a decade behind, but like he is doing the things, but that doesn't mean he's then not responsible for doing these other parts of his job, right? And the Pod Save guy did a gotcha with him, and so now this is all mixed up and people hating the Pod Save guys, and then now it's like a moderate versus progressive fight on Twitter. It's the same fucking story over and over and over again. Democrats cannot keep doing this. We cannot keep paying people money to do jobs, and then they do a bad job, and there's no consequences.
Yeah.
There has to be, you have to have expectations for success and merit and outcomes.
Yeah, and listen, being DNC chair seems like a nightmare job. However, you wanted it, Ken. You wanted it. The fact that, first of all, this tells me a couple things. The fact that he thought he could bury it means he doesn't understand the internet. Like, you don't understand. Like, there are some people on the internet who could be in the CIA, you can't bury something like that. And I think it's just like, just the incompetence. You think that the people at the highest levels of like our parties and our government, like you have these thoughts all the time, like, ooh, do they know what they're doing? Does anybody know what they're doing? And you're like, yeah, they've got to know what they're doing. I'm sure people know what they're doing. And then you open the hood and it's like, nope. Nobody knows what they're doing. It's very frustrating and quite frightening, to be honest. And I think the Pod Save guys are interesting because I think they really represent the establishment a lot too. They know how stuff works. So when they're calling something out, they're kind of going out on a limb to call out the establishment. I think they understand the risks in that a little bit. They were also the first ones to say Biden cannot run after that, fundraiser in LA when he was really old, and they got so much heat for that, but they were right, and so for them to call him out over this, and I think it is significant. It's different than Hassan calling Ken Martin out, you know what I mean?
So I'll say a couple things. One is, conceivably something I didn't include in what the DNC is responsible for is winning races. And one of the arguments I've heard online is Democrats have been winning races since Ken became chair. But I would say, I'm not sure that Ken Martin can be given credit for, Abigail Spanberger and Mickey Sherrill winning their races. I think it's certainly an anti-incumbency tide, and those people ran good races. He didn't suddenly do things at the DNC that changed everything. But it's also about the presidential primary process, which Democrats have fucked up so royally over and over and over again. And is he earning the trust of anyone outside of the DNC ecosystem within the broader Democratic base that's going to allow him to be able to have leadership in a process that has existential importance? And I'm not sure that he does, and he's up for it. And it is a shit job that, to the best of my knowledge, no one else fucking wants.
Except Ben Winkler.
No,
but I don't think he wants it anymore.
Yeah. I think he's got other things. He's set his sights on other things,
and he's got a book coming out. So we'll see. Maybe we can do an interview with Ben soon. That could be fun.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah,
we could. Gotcha. Maybe I'll learn how to say his name right. I like Henry Winkler. I think that's where I keep getting it from.
I love it. We're just gonna keep doing that. Coming back really quick to the second part of the job, which is, you say, managing the presidential primary process. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to be almost like whipping the candidates in terms of who should run, who should not, who should step back? Like they're supposed to be, the DNC chair is supposed to be kind of like shepherding that, or how? Because everybody's their own person.
I mean, they are not supposed to be putting their thumb on the scales in any meaningful way, but they have a lot of responsibility in literally organizing the whole thing, right? Organizing the primary votes and working with the state party chairs and helping people but they do have responsibility to bring people in and push people out. And a lot of politics is happening behind the scenes. And I know people hate that and they want it made public. But also, if you look at what happened with the California governor's race, right? That is an indication of a weak California Democratic Party, that there wasn't leadership to cull down the people running and come up with a good strategy to have good candidates on the table. So it's all about balance, right? You don't want to anoint Hillary Clinton, anoint Joe Biden. You want to have a competitive primary, but you want to have a competitive primary that results in people having confidence in the candidate at the end of the day and not giving Republicans the win. And that is a balance that needs to be had and work that needs to be done. And you also need to be cultivating those candidates and helping them move forward and not fucking them over as we careen towards the 2028 presidential primary.
Yeah, it's a tricky job for sure. It's a fine line, supporting democracy and letting it play out to what all the people want, but also, making sure that, there is a way that things work, and nobody wants to really hear that. The people on the left, we can't just have everything we want. There is this system, and there's some, you have to play by some rules, you know what I mean? And there's math and stuff, you have to get to certain things. You have to pick people who can win. It can't just be the person who you want to be your best friend. There is stuff behind the scenes that I think more people need to understand now that more people are so plugged in.
I mean, I, as an individual, really like Ken Martin. I think he's a really, really nice guy. And I think he's a good person who is he, to quote The Bachelor, is here for the right reasons. You know what I mean? And I feel bad, but I also think he's sort of too nice.
Yeah.
And we need more of a shark in that role. And we need someone who really understands the attention economy. And that is because I think the Democratic brand is a problem. And what I'm seeing from a lot of people who are defending Ken is that they are long-term Democratic Party people, right?
Yep.
Who are part of the organ, who believe that the system works and who don't understand the long-term consequences. And at this point, and they're we're going to do good, we're going to do fine in 2026. And probably we will do fine in 2026. The problem is 2028.
And the better we do in 2026, I feel like the trickier 2028 is going to be, because it always swings back and forth.
Yeah. And the things that are going to help us win in 2026 will not necessarily work in 2028. And that is a big problem Democrats have, is they always want to do what we did before. And that is not working in an information environment that changes so fucking quickly.
Everything is changing so quickly, and all these consultants and everybody, they're looking at data, and I'm I don't even think your data from one or two cycles ago is good anymore. I mean, it's relevant, but it's not Bible, because things are changing so quickly. I think sometimes, honestly, creators who have big audiences have these real-time focus groups. Obviously, they're more centered on one specific demographic usually, but I do think we're kind of ahead of stuff sometimes than like the political people and the consultants because we're kind of seeing things shift in real time before it hits. They're always like a cycle behind, I think, which didn't used to be a big deal.
Right. And I think one of the things that really bothers me about this data-backed approach is it also takes, like, we're doing focus groups, we're fighting about what people believe now, and then we want to feed them information about what they believe now, and it doesn't think about changing what they believe. And what Republicans have been engaged in recent years is changing how people think what they believe and changing the facts around how they see the world. I mean, think of this Christian nationalist conference we just had on the Mall, in which they are continuing this narrative that America was founded as a Christian nation. I mean, it's unbelievable that they have moved from 10 years ago having a radical group including this in Texas school textbooks and people being like, that seems bad, to now having a very, very public, very, very mainstream conference on the Mall, the launch of America's 250th anniversary, and it's all about how America is a Christian nation. I mean, they are literally changing the fabric of America, the narrative about how we exist as a country before our eyes.
Yeah. And Democrats need to get serious and like I don't know how to say this without sounding ridiculous, but like if we want to win, yeah, we need people who are more aggressive in certain roles. And also there's just like way too much loyalty within the party. And I know loyalty is usually a good thing, but it's like there's so much loyalty to our own detriment. Whereas like I think that's like whole Ken Martin thing. It's like you work your way up in Democratic politics by like having relationships along the way, like any career, and like but like also like swapping favors and stuff like that. And so then it comes to this big decision and the person gets it who like has done their time, quote unquote. And it's like, sorry, we need to pick the person best for this moment right now. Like they may have done all the right things along the way, but if they're too nice to do the job, then we got to pick somebody else.
I mean, I also just think part of it is who are the people who choose the DNC chair? And those are delegates from the state parties. Who is the current volunteer base who's becoming a Democratic state party volunteer, right? I have had lots of members of my audience tell me, oh, I went to an event and it was literally all boomers and I didn't want to do it anymore. It's like, no, that's exactly why you need to do it. We need more, you know what I mean? We need more young blood who has new ideas involved in these races. And there's a degree to which, like, it's on us. Gen X isn't going to do it. Hi, Gen X, if you're listening. You guys know you're not going to fucking do it. It needs to be the millennials.
But we love you. Don't get offended. I know Gen X gets offended sometimes.
We love you guys do get offended. Trust me, I love Gen X. But, you know.
Yeah, we need to figure out how to like blend the old Democratic politics people with the new, more online people who aren't going to show up to a county party meeting necessarily. Remember back when you came to Wisconsin in 2022, we had planned, we were going to do like a fun canvas kickoff in like a cute place. Certainly not the place that like needed the most door knockers, but we were going to make it fun and have a bunch of people out and like we wanted them to post about it. And like then like 2 days before they switched it all up and they were like, no, just we're going to kick off at this Dem party office in the middle of Milwaukee and like the vibes were awful. And it's like, yeah, exactly, guys. Like we have to make stuff cooler.
Yeah. They literally were like, who are you? Why are you here? And we're like, you took our event and you moved it so the people who were coming couldn't come and gave us 2 days notice and treated us like shit. And, you know, it's shocking that people don't want to come back and volunteer for you when you treat us like this.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, oh, and they bust in a busload of people from Chicago for the event. And it, you know, it was just like, it was wild.
Good times. I mean,
terrible times. I was in a bad fucking mood.
I know. I was being sarcastic. But you know what? It was fun anyways. And some people did come up and come out and we all like hung out afterwards. We made it fun. But like, yeah.
That was the beginning of our
love story.
We
need more people in the Democratic Party on the inside concerned about vibes, okay? We need some. Yeah, we need a vibes in chief person in the Democratic Party.
We need personality hires. That's what we need.
Yes, that is what we need. And like speaking as a personality hire, I don't have many talents, but like I feel like I've always kind of been the personality hire. Yeah, I don't want this job, but I'm definitely in support of the DNC hiring a few of those.
And I'm like, the person needs to have management skills. I have no management skills. Like, I definitely can't do the job.
Yeah. I mean, no, we don't want it, but you got to do a better job. You got to do something about that.
But that's why we're commentators, because we want to talk about it and give our opinions. Actually, Kate, it's been really fun.
This has been so fun. This was a great first episode. Yeah. We're going to have fun with this.
Girlies, give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. We're figuring this out on the fly. This is type B maxing, and we hope you'll join us.
Yeah, we're bringing Emily over to the dark side to just like play it by ear. And that's what we're doing. Maybe we'll set up a number where you guys can leave us voice memos, because that's how that's my favorite kind of way to communicate with people back and forth. So maybe we'll play some of those, and
love a voice note.
We'll stay in tune and have fun. Okay?
Bye.
Bye.